My adopted brother has a strange obsession. He wants everything that's mine, my parents. My sister. He even went after my fiancée. In my past life, he took almost everything from me. But he doesn't know I've been reborn. This time, when he steals my fiancée again, I'll turn around and marry Vivien Moore, the woman he desperately loves but can never have. Suncrest City. Suncrest General Hospital. I slowly open my eyes in a hospital room. Asterisk, this is it. The hospital room I was in before. Did it work? Asterisk. Looking at the familiar yet strange surroundings. A wave of complex emotions washed over me. My name is Adam Clark. Asterisk, the asterisk Young of the Clark family. The future head of the Youngs. I was originally the young master of the Clark family, one of the 10 major families in Suncrest City. When I was 8, I was on vacation with my 5th sister, Clara Bennett. While playing by the river, she slipped and fell into the turbulent water, seeing her life in danger, likely to drown at any moment. I didn't hesitate. I jumped into the raging river without a second thought, and, using every ounce of strength I had, managed to push her onto the bank. But just as Clara was saved, I collapsed from exhaustion and was swept away by the current, vanishing completely. When I next opened my eyes, I found myself in a simple, earthen house. Although I was lucky enough to survive, for some reason I had lost all my memories. My adoptive parents found me and took pity on me. They cared for me meticulously while I was ill, and at the same time, tried hard to find clues about my family. But their resources were limited, and they lived deep in remote mountains far from civilization. So even though they did their best, they couldn't find any leads about my past. Seeing how much effort and worry they poured into my situation filled me with warmth, but also guilt. Even though I wasn't their biological son, they treated me as if I were. So after a lot of internal struggle, I told my adoptive parents how I felt. Dad, Mom, I've thought about it. Finding my real parents and figuring out who I am isn't something that can happen overnight. After careful consideration, I think the most important thing right now is to focus on living our lives here. Instead of spending most of your energy on me, maybe we should think about my sister, Lily Carter's future. That night, my adopted parents and I talked for a very long time. Even though amnesia had wiped away who I was and where I came from, my innate shrewdness and foresight remained. I don't know if my words made a difference, but starting the very next day, my adoptive parents rushed around, insisting on getting me registered with a new identity. And once my new registration was processed, they insisted on enrolling both me and my sister, Lily Carter, in school. At first, I strongly objected to them enrolling me. I felt that since I wasn't their real son, they shouldn't have to spend money on me. Besides, the family was already struggling financially. If only Lily went to school, they could manage. But adding me would push their expenses beyond what they could afford. My adoptive parents saw my reluctance. Dad, Mom, maybe you should just let brother go to school. Lily Carter chimed in, seeing everything with an awkward smile. You could tell he's meant for big things. Me, I'm not that smart, and I'm slow to learn. Sending a blockhead like me to school would be a waste. But our adoptive parents didn't agree with either of us. They believed both Lily and I had the right to pursue our futures, even if supporting us meant they had to bear a heavy burden. They didn't complain or resent at all. In the end, we couldn't change their minds. So Lily and I enrolled in school as they wished. 12 years later, after 6 years of elementary school, 3 years of middle school, and 3 years of high school, Lily Carter and I lived up to our adoptive parents' expectations, and were both accepted into Suncrest University. Filled with excitement, Lily and I said goodbye to our adoptive parents and headed off to register at Suncrest University. Little did I know, this registration would mark the beginning of my nightmare. The first day of school at Suncrest University was the day I met my biological parents. Maybe it was the bond of blood, but somehow in that vast sea of people, they recognized me with just one look. And they were right. I was indeed their son. Even now, a lifetime later, I vividly remember the day they showed up with the DNA test results. They wept uncontrollably, telling me how much they'd missed me ever since I disappeared. Overwhelmed with guilt, they immediately took me back to the Clark family. Returning to my family should have been a joyous occasion. However, I soon learned that my parents had never truly gotten over my disappearance. To cope with the pain, they had adopted a son, Ryan Parker, to take my place. Now that the lost son had returned, Ryan Parker felt his position in the family was threatened. To protect himself, he repeatedly schemed against me, twisting my parents' perception of me and trying to drag me down. But faced with his clumsy acting and manipulative behavior, my parents and relatives seemed to see him through rose-tinted glasses, turning a deaf ear to his actions. In their eyes, Ryan Parker was gentle, mild-mannered, and utterly incapable of doing anything truly harmful. Whenever Ryan Parker framed me, my parents and sisters would strip me of everything to appease him. Under their protection, Ryan Parker used my research to become a renowned professor. Under their care, he took the business deals I had secured and became hailed as a business prodigy. In my past life, I endured it all because they were my family. But my tolerance didn't earn their true affection. Instead, they grew more distant, and even hid the fact that Ryan Parker was repeatedly sleeping with my fiancée, Fiona Watson. Later, thanks to Ryan Parker's schemes, I ended up in the hospital unconscious. The doctors said I was in a vegetative state and would likely never wake up. What they didn't know was that even in my coma, I could hear every word spoken in that room. It was then I learned that the CEO, Vivien Moore, who harbored an intense, secret love for me, had only eyes for me. She would often lean close, complaining that I was blind, weak, and a poor judge of character. She'd cry, hoping I would wake up soon. She promised that if I woke up, she would give me a home, give me everything. But on the day I finally regained consciousness, Vivien Moore, the woman whose eyes saw only me, who loved me more than life itself, wasn't there. Instead, her lawyer arrived. He told me that during my coma, Vivien Moore had unleashed frenzied revenge against the Clark family and Fiona Watson for what they had done to me. She had succeeded in avenging me, but in the end, she suffered a fatal relapse related to her condition and died on the very day I woke up. Vivien Moore was gone, just like that. After her death, her lawyer followed her will and transferred her entire estate to my name. Only then did I truly understand that Vivien Moore loved me more than she loved herself. The past events flashed vividly before my eyes, replaying in my mind like a relentless roller coaster. Creak. Just as I was lost in these memories, the hospital room door suddenly opened. A tall figure entered, a woman in a high-end suit, exuding an icy demeanor that kept everyone at arm's length. She stopped beside my bed, looking down at me with a mocking gaze. "Adam Clark, aren't you pathetic? You're the real Clark family heir. Yet they tell everyone you're just one of their servants. And on top of that, aren't you blind? Can't you judge character at all? Fiona Watson was your fiancée, but she went behind your back, lured into bed by your adopted brother, Ryan Parker. Not only that, with your wedding day getting closer, she's now pregnant with that manipulative snake, Ryan Parker's child, Adam Clark. I know you're Fiona Watson's lapdog, but..." She rambled on. Her words were vicious. It was clear from her red-rimmed eyes that her heart ached for me. Splash. Seeing Vivien Moore alive and real before me, tears suddenly streamed down my face like a dam breaking, pouring uncontrollably. "No, Adam Clark, what's wrong with you? Get a grip. I just gave you a hard time. Why are you crying?" Perhaps because she'd never seen me like this, Vivien Moore stopped her tirade, suddenly looking flustered. Huff. Ignoring her questions and the tearing pain in my body, I reached out and pulled her into a fierce hug. "Vivien Moore, I've missed you so much." Tears streamed down, soaking Vivien Moore's clothes in just a moment. The instant I grabbed her tight, Vivien Moore froze completely still. After a long moment, she suddenly turned her head to look at me. "Adam Clark, I only said a few harsh words to you. Is this really how you're getting back at me?" Vivien Moore looked at me, her expression complicated. Everyone in Suncrest City knew how madly in love I was with Fiona Watson. As far as Vivien Moore was concerned, anyone might betray Fiona Watson, but never me. As for why I'd said what I did earlier, she figured I was just trying to get revenge, to provoke her. Vivien Moore, I wasn't. I meant it. I knew she wouldn't believe what I'd said earlier. Hell, even I wouldn't have believed it if I were her. After all, Vivien Moore and I were famous rivals. Anyone else might have feelings for her, but me, head over heels for Fiona Watson? Absolutely not. "Adam Clark, do I look that stupid to you? You said you missed me, let me guess. You think saying that will make me start liking you. And then just when I think you're serious and respond, you'll drop the act and laugh at me for falling for it, for actually believing you." Although a tiny part of her wavered, Logic told Vivien Moore. I would never say something like that to any other woman, because she knew very well what kind of person I was. Someone who loved and hated intensely. In my book, once I committed to a woman, I was absolutely loyal to her, unless I stopped loving her. But that possibility was minuscule. Vivien Moore, I'm serious. You know I never lie. Facing Vivien Moore's doubt, I sniffled and looked at her earnestly. Adam Clark. You're serious? But why haven't you always hated me, you know? Just like the rumors say, I'm a complete lunatic. You should know the consequences of messing with me, of playing games with me. Vivien Moore hesitated, her voice catching slightly. She loved me deeply. The kind of love. But her love for me was obsessive, almost pathological. She loved me, yet worried her love would hurt me. So even though she loved me more than life itself, she didn't dare claim me as her own. Vivien Moore had always been fighting to suppress her feelings. For me, if we were destined to fail, she'd rather the relationship never started. That way, although her heart would ache terribly, at least the pain wouldn't be shattering, wouldn't drive her mad. Vivien Moore. If I told you I crossed time itself just for you, would you believe me? Time machines crossing time. Such things were too fantastical. Unless you experienced it yourself, who would believe it? Then how are you going to prove you're not lying to me? A flicker of something unusual, barely perceptible, crossed Vivien Moore's eyes. Today's Adam Clark was definitely different from usual. You want proof? How's this for proof? I hesitated for a split second. Then my eyes met Vivien Moore's bright ones. Our eyes locked. But Vivien Moore still didn't understand what I meant. The next moment, without hesitation, I pressed my lips to hers, perhaps not expecting me to be serious, let alone go this far. Vivien Moore's eyes instantly widened. Her lips were soft, yielding. The instant our lips met, a faint, fresh, fruity scent filled my mouth. It was a fragrance that was uniquely refreshing and deeply reassuring. Maybe I never felt so at peace. Or maybe it was because this was my first kiss with Vivien Moore. After kissing her lips, seeing she didn't pull away, I don't know where I found the courage, but I slipped my tongue past her teeth. Then our tongues tangled together wildly. Vivien Moore and I kissed passionately for about a minute. Perhaps because I was trying too hard to prove my feelings. I wasn't paying attention when she suddenly bit me. Hard. Vivien Moore, are you part dog? Didn't you want proof? I just proved it to you. Why did you suddenly bite me? Vivien Moore hadn't bitten lightly. The moment she bit down, bright red blood welled up on my lip. Adam Clark, haven't you heard? I'm saving my first kiss for only one person. My future husband. Vivien Moore looked at me seriously, her eyes dark and unreadable. I know, I replied firmly. If you know, then why did you still come on to me? Don't you realize that if you mess with me and then leave, it'll kill me? It was true. This was Vivien Moore's first kiss. But this kiss from Vivien Moore was meant only for me. If I were with her, she would grow old with me. But if I ended up with another woman, she would choose to die alone, remaining faithful to me forever. I know so. Vivien Moore, let's get married. How could I not know all this? If this were my past life, maybe I wouldn't have understood. But in this life, I just want to be bound tightly to Vivien Moore. If she lives, I live. If she dies, then I'll go with her. Marry me, you. You want to marry me? A flicker of disbelief crossed Vivien Moore's eyes. She had thought I'd just lost my mind, that it was the only reason I'd said what I did before. She never imagined that the first thing I'd say, when I opened my mouth again, would be about marrying her. My request was completely outside the realm of what Vivien Moore had considered. So when she heard those words, it felt like a dream. She couldn't believe what was happening. Yes, I knew how much impact those words had on Vivien Moore. I also knew Vivien Moore wouldn't be able to accept my proposal right away. But what could she do? Faced with my request, she simply couldn't refuse. Even if I'd said it casually, even if I were just joking, or even if it were just a momentary impulse, she would still agree without hesitation, unconditionally. An hour later, outside City Hall, Vivien Moore and I walked out hand in hand, even though we had just gotten our marriage license. At City Hall, making us legally husband and wife, Vivien Moore still felt like it was all an unreal dream. Adam Clark, am I dreaming? Inside the luxurious car, Vivien Moore gripped my hand tightly, still finding it hard to believe we'd actually gotten the license. No, I replied firmly, no. Then can I take a picture and post it? Make it official? Vivien Moore's expression held a trace of joy, mixed with caution. She looked hesitant, as if afraid I might get upset. You can, But you can't reveal that we got our license. Until after the wedding ceremony, I told her. Swish. Hearing this, Vivien Moore's initial joy vanished instantly, her face falling. It wasn't hard to see from her expression that she felt incredibly disappointed now. It made sense. After all, the person I'd always loved was Fiona Watson. Now, even though I'd married her in Vivien Moore's eyes, it was probably just an impulsive act or decision, made out of spite towards Fiona Watson. Vivien Moore, I'm not asking you to hide our license, because I don't want to make our relationship public, I explained, squeezing her hand tighter. When I saw she'd misunderstood. You know me in the past. I wasn't just weak-willed, I was also blind, unable to judge people properly. So, I want to take this opportunity to make a clean break with the past. Fiona Watson and Ryan Parker's engagement party is in 7 days if you agree. I'd like to schedule our wedding for the same day, at the same hotel as theirs. I wasn't saying this because I still harbored feelings for my parents or my ex-fiancée, Fiona Watson. It's because I plan to give my parents and Fiona Watson a big gift on the wedding day. Adam Clark, are you arranging things this way just to use me to provoke your ex-fiancée, Fiona Watson? Vivien Moore froze, and the hand I was holding trembled uncontrollably. As the heiress of the Vivien family, who took over as head of the family at a young age, it was clear Vivien Moore was extremely intelligent and capable, a true leader. Scheduling our wedding on the same day and at the same hotel as Fiona Watson and Ryan Parker's. It was obviously a move designed to provoke Fiona Watson. If Fiona Watson didn't know I'd married Vivien Moore, it might be one thing, but once she found out, it was highly likely that her and Ryan Parker's wedding wouldn't be able to proceed. After all, Fiona Watson had only agreed to get engaged to Ryan Parker, reluctantly to stabilize his emotions and condition. Besides, Vivien Moore had always been the unattainable love, the white moonlight in Ryan Parker's eyes. But while he harbored deep feelings for Vivien Moore, she couldn't even be bothered to look at him. Not only that, while Ryan Parker adored Vivien Moore, he also knew perfectly well that I was the one Vivien Moore secretly loved, the white moonlight she never dared confess her feelings to. He loved Vivien Moore so much, yet her heart and eyes were only for me. Whether it was because of unrequited love or something else, his malice towards me grew stronger and stronger. And his engagement party with Fiona Watson in 7 days was his way of getting revenge on me. In my past life, faced with his repeated humiliation and provocation, my cowardly nature would definitely have led me to swallow my anger and endure it silently. But in this life, I was no longer the person I used to be. Knowing everything he had done, how could I possibly let the tragedies of the past repeat themselves? Vivien Moore, are you being silly? I looked deeply into Vivien Moore's eyes, replying with sincerity. If I just wanted to use you to provoke Fiona Watson, there would have been absolutely no need to secretly get a marriage license with you. Getting this license and marrying you wasn't an impulsive decision. On one hand, I'm doing this to get back at Fiona Watson for her infidelity, and on the other hand, it's because I truly love you and want to marry you. But what if Fiona Watson finds out I'm marrying you and crashes our wedding? Even though I had made myself clear, Vivien Moore still felt worried. Will you abandon me then and leave with her? No, I replied. I wouldn't marry a woman with no sense of boundaries. I wouldn't marry an indecent woman, and I certainly won't be played for a fool, ending up raising another man's child. As I said this, a chilling glint flickered, almost imperceptibly in my eyes. You know, hearing my words, Vivien Moore froze again. She seemed utterly incredulous that I knew the inside story. Did you also know about Fiona Watson's pregnancy? I froze for a moment. I knew about it because my adopted son Ryan Parker told me. In my past life, there's no way Ryan Parker would have told Vivien Moore something like that. So I was very curious about how she found out. Yes, Adam Clark. As you know, the Vivien family has business interests in many different sectors, including holdings in several hospitals here in Suncrest City. A few days ago, I learned about Fiona Watson's pregnancy through reports from my subordinates. At first, I thought the child was yours, but later I found out it was Ryan Parker's. I originally planned to tell you, but you love Fiona Watson so much. Telling you would only cause you more pain and worry, nothing else. So I thought it would be better to keep it a secret, rather than have you live in agony day and night after finding out. It might seem cruel to you, but at least this way, you wouldn't be tormented constantly, right? Vivien Moore looked at me, like a child who'd done something wrong, uncertain and flustered. Seeing her like that, I couldn't help but feel moved and overwhelmed with emotion. Just as Vivien Moore said, if this had happened in my past life, after learning the truth, I definitely would have swallowed my pride out of cowardice and bowed down to Fiona Watson. If that had happened, the rest of my life would certainly have been filled with endless pain and suffering. Vivien Moore, you're such an idiot. I looked at Vivien Moore for a few moments, my gaze complex. Somehow, as the words left my mouth, I couldn't hold back my emotions anymore. I pulled her into a tight embrace, wanting to merge her into myself. That same day, the news of Vivien Moore officially announcing her marriage registration spread throughout Suncrest City. Seeing Vivien Moore post pictures of the two bright, newly issued marriage certificates, many friends, relatives, and business partners immediately left comments, offering their sincerest congratulations. Some friends and family even sent messages, asking who exactly Vivien Moore had married, because I had previously told Vivien Moore to keep it quiet. When faced with questions from relatives and friends, Vivien Moore didn't reveal a single detail about my identity or information. She just told them they would find out who I was. On wedding day, Suncrest City, inside a private room at a club. Crash smash. Ryan Parker's face was thunderous. He grabbed an unopened bottle of champagne from the table and slammed it hard onto the floor. Instantly, the bottle shattered, scattering glass and champagne everywhere. Damn it, who the hell is it? Learning about Vivien Moore registering her marriage sent Ryan Parker into a furious rage. Ryan Parker, calm down. Look, isn't it possible? This whole marriage registration thing is just a smokescreen from Miss Vivien Moore. You know, the Vivien family has been pressuring Vivien Moore to get married lately. So, it's very likely she's just pretending to be married to get her family off her back. Also in the room, Daniel Wright saw this and offered his analysis. Alex is right. That's probably what's going on. Otherwise, why haven't we heard anything about this before now? Another man spoke up. Exactly. Besides, doesn't this whole thing seem a bit illogical? Vivien Moore is the head of the Vivien family. Someone in her position, even if they were getting married, would normally get engaged first then marry. She didn't even have an engagement. Just suddenly announced she's registered her marriage. Does that make sense? Yet another person chimed in. I think it's easy to figure out if this is real or not. Vivien Moore announced she registered her marriage. Right. If that's the case, we just need to call City Hall and check. If she's telling the truth, we'll be able to find her registration record. Conversely, if we can't find anything, then it's fake, said another. Everyone started talking at once. Hearing everyone's discussion, the darkness on Ryan Parker's face eased slightly, his brow relaxing a bit. Without another word, he immediately made a phone call. A few minutes later, when his phone rang, Ryan Parker answered it immediately. Ryan Parker, we've checked on what you asked. Based on our search of the relevant systems, we couldn't find any information about Vivien Moore Sinclair registering a marriage. In other words, her registering the marriage. It's fake, the person on the other end reported, as soon as the call connected. So it's fake. I was worried for nothing. Hearing this news, Ryan Parker felt a little relieved. Meanwhile, at Willow Holdings, Fiona Watson. Are you really planning on keeping the baby? You know, no man would ever accept his wife being pregnant with another man's child. In the living room, Mia Hall glanced suddenly at the stunning figure beside her, then spoke, seeming hesitant. And I don't agree with that at all. Natalie Reed cut in dismissively before Fiona Watson could answer. Adam Clark is just a servant in a Clark family. Fiona Watson taking an interest in him is the luckiest thing that's ever happened to him. Besides, he comes from nothing, and he's completely useless. If Fiona Watson didn't like him, someone like him wouldn't even have the right to be near us. Don't worry. A smug look flashed in Fiona Watson's almond eyes. Adam's my lapdog. He's so devoted to me. Forget being pregnant with someone else's baby. Even if I brought another man home and did, you know, right in front of him, he wouldn't leave me. She seemed utterly certain Adam couldn't leave her, saying it in front of her friends. Also greatly satisfied. Fiona Watson's vanity. Can't leave you, huh? Outside the door, Adam Clark stood listening, his expression grim. Although he already knew what kind of person Fiona Watson was, Hearing her say it herself still made his heart ache. Asterisk Fiona Watson. Maybe the Adam Clark you imagine can't leave you. But I am. Asterisk Adam Clark. Since you're so confident, let's see who can't live without whom in 7 days. Asterisk I clench my fists, standing rigidly for a moment. Click. After a while one side calmed down a bit. I opened the door and went inside swish. As I entered, Fiona Watson and the others in the living room heard the noise and looked up, seeing it was me. Fiona Watson and Anna looked slightly uncomfortable. Adam, when did you get here? Fiona Watson asked immediately, perhaps unsure when I'd arrived, or if I'd overheard their conversation. Just now, I replied, looking at her calmly. Oh. Fiona Watson let out a long breath, seeming relieved, as though she was afraid. I'd heard something I shouldn't have. It wasn't that she was truly afraid of me, just worried I'd throw a tantrum. After all, what she'd said earlier was hurtful. No one could hear that and remain indifferent. Adam, Fiona Watson mentioned you're a good cook. Is that true? Why don't you show us what you can do? Lucy looked me up and down mockingly before speaking. Sorry, I said. I come from a humble background and haven't had any formal culinary training, so the food I make probably wouldn't suit Miss Fitzgerald's status or taste. Rather than embarrass myself, I think I'll pass. Normally, even if I disliked Lucy, I would have swallowed my pride for Fiona Watson's sake and catered to their wishes. But now Fiona Watson and I were completely over. So how Lucy and the others felt, whether they're happy or not, had nothing to do with me anymore. Adam Clark, what's that supposed to mean? Apparently not expecting me to refuse her, Lucy said angrily. I asked you to cook because I felt like gracing you with my attention. I was doing you a favor. Besides, if it weren't for Fiona Watson, do you think I'd even look twice at you, Adam? Do you have any idea what you're saying? Before I could respond to Lucy, Fiona Watson turned to me, her expression ugly. I already told you. The engagement with Ryan Parker is fake. It's just to help stabilize his condition. I made it perfectly clear. Can you please stop sulking and throwing a fit about this? And where did you run off to these past 2 days? While you were pouting, do you know how worried I was? Even now she still thought I was just sulking. Fiona Watson, I'm not throwing a tantrum, I said, my face impassive. I came back today for 2 reasons. To pack my things and to make things clear with you. Fiona Watson, whether your engagement to Ryan Parker is real or fake doesn't matter to me anymore. We were over the moment you agreed to get engaged to Ryan Parker, and I wasn't sulking for the past 2 days. Because this isn't about throwing a tantrum at you. I was in the hospital because I was injured. Adam, you were injured in the hospital. Hearing this, Fiona Watson completely ignored everything else I'd said and looked at me with wide, concerned eyes. How did you get hurt? Is it serious? Your fiancé, Ryan Parker, hit me with his car. I answered coolly. Wasn't too serious. Just unconscious for over 10 hours and a few broken bones. I'll live. Yesterday, I was hospitalized after an injury. Before I lost consciousness, Ryan Parker put Fiona Watson on speakerphone. He told her he'd accidentally hit someone with his car. Hearing the panic and helplessness in Ryan Parker's voice, Fiona Watson tried to calm him down, saying, so you hit someone. What's the big deal? It's not like you killed them. And even if you had, I could make it go away. I knew Ryan Parker called Fiona Watson right there in front of me on purpose. He was disgusting, yes. But would he have dared treat me like that? Without Fiona Watson enabling and protecting him. When the paramedics took me unconscious to Suncrest General Hospital, Fiona Watson didn't even glance at the victim. Her only concern was for the traumatized Ryan Parker. What? Disbelief flickered in Fiona Watson's eyes. You were the one Ryan Parker hit yesterday, that's right. Sorry I startled your fiancé yesterday. I stared directly at Fiona Watson. I remembered what I'd seen and heard before I passed out. While Fiona Watson was comforting Ryan Parker, she blamed it all on me. The victim said I wasn't watching where I was going, that I was the reason Ryan Parker was upset. Not only that, she'd even cursed me, wishing me a horrible death. My words dripped with sarcasm, hurtful words, like that would never have crossed my lips before. After all, I loved Fiona Watson too much to ever say anything harsh to her. But now I said them without a trace of hesitation. For a moment, I couldn't tell if my words had struck a nerve, or if Fiona Watson suddenly realized her mistake. A flicker of panic crossed her face as she looked at me, her expression complicated. Adam, I didn't know it was you Ryan Parker hit. Fiona Watson explained hurriedly. If I had known, I never would have ignored you. Really, I countered. Then what did you say when the hospital called you? In my past life. Maybe hearing Fiona Watson's explanation would have made me happy. But now, I didn't believe a single word she said. Because while I was unconscious, a nurse at Suncrest General Hospital had tried calling Fiona Watson from my phone more than once. But Fiona Watson either ignored the calls, or when she did answer, told the nurse I was just throwing a tantrum, faking an injury to get her attention. I wouldn't have known any of this if the nurse hadn't chattered on about it. After I woke up, Adam, I thought, hearing what I said. Fiona Watson looked flustered again, trying to explain. You thought. It's always what you think. I cut her off. Fiona Watson, I know I'm not good enough for you. I know. Marrying into Willow Holdings was reaching too high. We're not equals. Our families aren't on the same level. A relationship this unequal, even if we did get married, we just end up fighting constantly. Besides, since we met, you've said you love me, but you never really have. Not truly. Adam, it's not like that. I really do love you, Fiona Watson said, looking at me with a complex expression. Somehow she felt like she was about to lose something important. Fiona Watson, do you even believe that yourself? I asked calmly, not showing any anger. Since the day we met, have you ever trusted me? Not even once. Don't say I didn't give you a chance. If I told you I'm the heir to the Clark family, that Ryan Parker is just an adopted son, that he's not as innocent or fragile as he seems, and that he doesn't have depression, would you believe me, Adam? There's a limit to your nonsense. Fiona Watson seemed stunned that I would say such things. As soon as the words left my mouth, she instinctively refuted them. Ryan Parker isn't like that. I understand you're jealous of him, but you need to realize jealousy makes people ugly. You can't slander Ryan Parker just because you envy his position. In her eyes, everything I'd just said was a lie, fabricated out of jealousy towards Ryan Parker. She wouldn't believe a word of it. Astor's cat. Astor's Fiona Watson's reaction was exactly what I'd expected. Whenever Ryan Parker was involved, Fiona Watson became fiercely protective and defensive. Besides, I hadn't said those things to gain Fiona Watson's trust. It was groundwork for my revenge. I knew she wouldn't believe anything I said. I knew that even if I told the absolute truth, Fiona Watson would only believe what she wanted to believe. That's why, later when I finally leave her, reject her, and expose Ryan Parker's true nature, her pain and suffering will be that much greater. I let out a short self-deprecating laugh. Then, without looking at Fiona Watson again, I walked straight towards one of the rooms on the first floor. Even though I'm Fiona Watson's fiancé, I'm pretty conservative. So even though we live together, I've never touched her. The most intimate we've ever been is holding hands. Fiona Watson, maybe you should just give in and apologize properly. To Adam Clark, Mia Hall suggested gently, seemingly noticing the cold way. I looked at Fiona Watson. She'd see me ignore Fiona Watson and walk into the room. Adam Clark might not come for much, but I can tell he doesn't seem like the type to lie. She'd see me ignore Fiona Watson and walk into the room. And I don't agree with that at all. I think Adam Clark is just saying that to exploit your guilt and get the upper hand. If you let him get away with this, he'll just walk all over you later. So you can't go soft on him. Adam Clark wants to make a scene, fine, let him stew. I bet he'll come crawling back to you within 3 days. That Lucy is really something else. Anna thought, though she said nothing aloud. Astrid looks like. I'll need to keep my distance from her from now on. Astrid. Lucy's right, Fiona Watson said. Lucy's words are apparently striking a chord, while Anna's left her unconvinced. I don't believe Adam Clark would actually leave me. After going into the room, I quickly gathered my belongings. While there were quite a few things that belonged to me, not many were exclusively mine. I stuffed the clothes and items I had bought myself into a backpack, slung it over my shoulder, and walked out of the bedroom. Adam Clark, that's enough of this act. Fiona Watson suddenly called out from behind as she saw me leaving. Aren't you just looking for an excuse for me to back down? All right, fine, just say it was my fault, okay? Even then, she still thought I was just throwing a tantrum, just putting on an act. I completely ignored Fiona Watson's shouts, my steps never faltering as I headed for the door. Adam Clark, if you dare walk out that door today, then we are really finished. A flash of anger crossed Fiona Watson's eyes when she saw. I remained unmoved. Bang, but regardless of what she said, I felt no lingering attachment. and walked straight out of the villa, the door closing firmly behind me. Fiona Watson, should we go after him and try to talk some sense into him? Anna couldn't stand it anymore, watching me disappear without a backward glance. Adam Clark didn't look like he was pretending today. Fiona Watson, you know better than anyone how Adam Clark treats you. Honestly, good decent men like him are hard to find these days. If you lose him, finding another man as good as him won't be easy. And I disagree. Adam Clark might have looked determined, but when he left, he only took a small portion of his things. What does that tell you? It proves Adam Clark doesn't really want to break up with Fiona Watson. He's just putting on a show. If he really wanted to break up with Fiona Watson, why wouldn't he take all his belongings at once? Lucy's analysis sounded convincing and logical. Under most circumstances, her point would have been valid. But the problem is everyone's different, and I'm not like other men. I wouldn't leave behind things that are mine. Conversely, I wouldn't take things that aren't. Let him go. Lucy's words were exactly what Fiona Watson, Willow, wanted to hear. I'd like to see how long he can last out there without me. Although she was angry, she still believed I was just throwing a tantrum, acting childish. And she had a point. I had done things like this before. But every time, I'd ended up caving within a day or two. The longest I ever held out was less than 3 days. It was precisely because of this history that Fiona Watson, Willow, felt she had me completely figured out. After leaving the villa, I called an Uber, straight to the place Vivien Moore had arranged for me. Pine View Estates in Suncrest City. The estate grounds were expansive, featuring not only a lake, swimming pool, and golf course, but also numerous rare and valuable flowers, plants, and trees. As I got out of the car, Arthur Sinclair came forward to greet me, while instructing the household staff to take my belongings. He spoke, "Sir, the young miss said that for the next few days, unless absolutely necessary, you should just rest comfortably here at the estate, and recover if you require anything. Sir, please just inform the household staff here. As for your whereabouts, sir, rest assured that no one will be able to trace you before your wedding." To the young miss. "Arthur, where is Vivien Moore?" I asked the older man beside me, as we walked towards the villa entrance. James Bennett was the Vivien family's butler. "Well, sir, you and the young miss are getting married, aren't you?" Arthur said respectfully as he led me into the villa. "The young miss wants your wedding to be absolutely splendid, so she has already started handling the arrangements. Personally, normally, this is something we would take care of properly, with just a word from her. But the young miss said this is her own affair, and since it's her own, she naturally wants to handle it herself. Sir, to be honest, I haven't seen the young miss this happy, this joyful in a very long time. Asterisk, that silly girl Vivien Moore. Asterisk, I thought, feeling touched. A sense of secret delight, mixed with a little thrill of excitement, bubbled up inside me. "Arthur, do you have a computer here?" James Bennett quickly led me into the villa. I wasn't sure if it was Vivien Moore's idea, but once we were inside, Arthur led me straight to her room. Normally, my principles and sense of propriety would have insisted on separate rooms, but now we were legally married. Besides, Vivien Moore was completely unhinged. If I didn't stay in the same room, she'd definitely jump to wild conclusions and imagine all sorts of crazy things. So to prevent her from spiraling and hurting herself with those paranoid thoughts, I decided to swallow my pride and abandon my usual principles. "Sir, if you need a computer, I can arrange to have one delivered," Arthur said respectfully. "Of course, if you need one immediately, you're welcome to use Miss Vivien's computer." "Arthur, could you have someone give me a MacBook Pro and 2 SanDisk flash drives then?" I asked. He nodded and left to take care of it. "Miss Vivien, the gentleman has just arrived safely at Pine View Estates." After leaving the room and heading downstairs, the moment Arthur stepped outside the villa, he pulled out his iPhone 15 Pro Max and called Vivien Moore. However, he didn't bring much luggage with him. Also, I notice his clothes are rather plain, perhaps a bit dated. "Miss Vivien, were you considering perhaps purchasing some Tom Ford suits for him?" As the Vivien family's butler, Arthur held his position, not just because of his absolute loyalty, but also due to his many exceptional qualities. His sharp eye, meticulous attention to detail, diplomatic approach, an innate understanding of how to serve his masters. For instance, suits. A flicker of delight showed in Vivien Moore's eyes as she listened to Arthur's report from her Manhattan office. Understood before. She never had a good excuse to buy me gifts. But now that we were married, did a wife need a reason to buy things for her husband? Of course not. Back in the room. After Arthur left, I tossed my backpack onto the king-sized bed and walked over to the walnut desk. A Mac Studio sat on the desk. I sat down and powered on the machine. The Apple logo appeared, and when the password screen popped up, I automatically typed in my birthday just like that. The computer unlocked. The first thing I saw was a selfie of me set as the desktop background. How did Vivien Moore get a selfie of me? She probably took it secretly with her Leica when I wasn't looking. This was just one of many photos she had of me. The rest were likely saved in batches to an encrypted iCloud album. I easily opened Finder and started browsing through the old photos in the Time Machine backup. With amusement, "Sir, here are the computer and flash drives you requested." I must have gotten lost browsing, because over an hour had passed. I was chuckling at one of the pictures when Arthur came back in, carrying a brand new MacBook Pro and SanDisk drives. "Arthur, isn't Vivien Moore back yet?" Seeing it was already 5:30, I asked as I closed the Mac Studio. "Sir, Miss Vivien called earlier. She said she won't be back from Wall Street until around 6. Arthur added, placing the new laptop on the desk. "She also mentioned that if you're hungry, so you can ask the Michelin chef to start preparing dinner early." Although he hadn't known me long, he could already tell I wasn't the person described in the rumors. "No, that's all right. Since Vivien Moore isn't back yet, I'll wait and eat with her when she returns." I waved dismissively at Arthur's suggestion. We exchanged a few more words before he turned and left the bedroom. As soon as Arthur left, I opened the new MacBook Pro and waited for it to start up. Meanwhile, once Arthur was clear of the room, he pulled out his phone and called Vivien Moore again. On the call, he reported on my status and repeated what I had said, hearing that I had used her first name with Arthur and that I wanted to wait to have dinner with her. Vivien Moore felt a surge of joy and excitement. She immediately urged her driver to get the Maybach moving faster. Back in the room, once the new laptop booted up, I connected to the encrypted Wi-Fi and immediately used my skills to hack into the Summit Grand Hotel security system. Clara Bennett, Ryan Parker. What you two do when a surveillance video from the presidential suite leaks right after your engagement party. In 7 days. A few minutes later, after running a penetration test using Kali Linux, I had downloaded a 4K HD video clip to my local drive via the Tor network. The subjects of the video were none other than the young family's adopted son, Ryan Parker, and my fifth sister, Clara Bennett. A romance between consenting adults is perfectly normal, even involving siblings, as long as they aren't blood-related. It isn't necessarily scandalous. The problem was the Clark family, protective of Ryan Parker, had never publicly disclosed that he was adopted. Without that public knowledge, Ryan Parker, the adopted son, was considered Clara's biological brother. In the eyes of the world, an incestuous affair between siblings. If it never came out, fine. But once exposed, not only would young corporation stock price plummet, but the entire family would face a devastating public backlash. The repercussions would be far-reaching. Ryan Parker, the Clark family, even Fiona Watson. They would all be caught in the fallout. And that was precisely the Wall Street Journal front page gift I had prepared for them. With the evidence secured, just to be safe, I made triple backups of the files. Then, I encrypted the data and stored it separately on 3 SanDisk secure drives. Done. Now all I have to do is wait for the NASDAQ to open. With everything taken care of, I closed my MacBook, stood up, and did a CrossFit workout. Click, clack, click. Just then I heard the sound of Jimmy shoe heels outside the door. Sounds like Vivien Moore's back from the board meeting. Hearing the noise outside, I looked toward the door and started walking toward the smart lock. Whoosh, just as I neared the entryway, a figure dressed in Oscar de la Renta Couture rushed into my arms like a Wall Street hurricane. Time flew by, and 3 days passed quietly. During those 3 days, I stayed inside the smart, secure villa at Pineview Estates. Unlike me, Vivien Moore spent her days handling the Blackstone Group merger and our Vera Wong wedding dress fittings, and her nights wearing L.A. Perla lingerie and wearing me out. Despite taking my Centrum vitamins daily, her constant demands left me with a strained lower back. Compared to our relative comfort, things weren't going so well for Fiona Watson and Ryan Parker. For Ryan Parker, It seemed like he'd get withdrawals if he went 2 days without sending me harassing texts. As for Fiona Watson, ever since I left, her Michelin star meals had become hard to stomach. When I was around, she could have Gordon Ramsay-level cuisine whenever she wanted. But since I'd left, the first couple of days were fine. But starting on the third day, she became inexplicably irritable. Mark Wilson, haven't you found Adam Clark's Amex spending records yet? Willow Holdings headquarters CEO's office. Fiona Watson looked impatiently at Mark Wilson, drumming her fingers on the armrest of her Bentley chair. Miss Willow, I've hired private investigators as you requested. But according to the background check, after Adam Clark left her beach house, he used Bitcoin for payments. There's absolutely no credit card trail. His digital footprint vanished like Ghost Protocol. In response, Mark Wilson displayed the results from the Palantir data analysis platform. Impossible. What about the Ring surveillance system in Beverly Hills? Fiona Watson wrinkled her delicate nose. Already checked. The community security system was breached by an unknown hacker. At the time, all surveillance footage was replaced with a loop from 3 days prior. By the time engineers fixed the vulnerability, Adam Clark had already disappeared. Using an encrypted VPN, Mark Wilson pulled up the firewall logs. During these 3 days, wasn't just Fiona Watson trying to find me through most sad channels. Ryan Parker was also posting bounties for information about me. On the dark web, Fiona Watson was looking for me. Out of some kind of Stockholm syndrome-like dependency, Ryan Parker, however, was looking purely to satisfy his sadistic urges. Over these 3 days, although Ryan Parker couldn't find me, he used a burner phone daily to send me intimate photos of himself. And Fiona Watson, perhaps because he saw I was leaving his eye messages on read, he went so far as to insanely send Fiona Watson's prenatal checkup report from Mount Sinai Hospital, looking at the legal evidence he'd willingly provided in the encrypted signal chat. I couldn't help but laugh at Ryan Parker's stupidity. He was doing this simply to trigger my PTSD, to watch me break down. In my past life, seeing this material would definitely have sent me into a deep depression. But now, after EMDR therapy, I've already achieved post-traumatic growth. My silence drove Ryan Parker crazy. Unable to find me, he even posted a bounty thread on Reddit. As for my biological parents, Richard Clark and Monica Clark, while I was missing, they were vacationing in St. Tropez on their priority list. The Family Trust Fund's distribution plan ranked far higher than their missing son. Time slipped by and another 3 days passed. According to the countdown on the Bloomberg terminal, there were only 24 hours left until Fiona Watson and Ryan Parker's engagement. That day I was sunbathing by the infinity pool at the Smart Villa. Miss Lily Carter, the master is in the solarium. You haven't seen the master in a while. Shall I prepare some Laurent Perrier champagne for you both? By the heated pool, I was taking a light nap, wearing Bose noise-canceling headphones. Just then, I heard Arthur's voice from outside the bulletproof glass. Lily Carter, which Lily? My light sleep was interrupted by the vibration of my smart bracelet. Hearing the chime, indicating the genetic lock had opened, I took off my Gucci sunglasses and stood up. Swish! As the bulletproof glass sliding door opened, the familiar jingle of a Van Cleef bracelet reached me. Before the figure appeared, bro, as I looked at the figure, the girl, clutching a Harvard Law textbook, looked back at me. Still the same girl who loved wearing Reformation dresses. Still the same new generation teen who used the Hinge dating app. Lily, how did you hack the villa's biometric system? Bro, you think I took those MIT hacking courses for nothing? Besides, as the heir to the Clark family, you're being pretty lousy as a big brother. We might not be blood related, but legally we're still brother and sister. As my brother, how could you plan a huge wedding with Vivien Moore at St. Patrick's Cathedral and not even tell me or the trust fund executor? If Vivien Moore hadn't sent her private jet to pick me up, were you just planning to elope in Vegas? Lily revealed half her face from behind Balenciaga sunglasses, expressing her annoyance by flicking through TikTok. On her phone, Lily, it's not what you think. My plan was always to take care of things here first, and then go back home later, to have another wedding ceremony. You know, following our local traditions. I just didn't expect Vivien Moore to be so considerate. She brought you here behind my back, without saying a thing. Getting married is a huge deal. I definitely wanted you and Mom and Dad here. But I was worried about the fallout. Worried that Ryan Parker might get desperate and try to use you guys to threaten me. So my plan was to deal with him, completely cut ties. Then take Vivien Moore back home to see Mom and Dad and talk about the second wedding. But plans change. Right. Who knew Vivien Moore would pull something like this? Behind my back. Fine. Since you admitted you messed up, and since you and Vivien Moore are getting married, I guess I can forgive you. Lily didn't know about my plan, but she knows I wouldn't intentionally leave her out. Even though she was a little upset, she decided to forgive me. Come on, bro. Spill it. Lily nudged me with her elbow and grinned goofily. You used to be so blind when it came to her. How did you suddenly see the light? Seriously, compared to that Fiona Watson, Vivien Moore leaves her in the dust, like miles behind. And not just that, Vivien Moore's way better looking than Fiona Watson. And she has a great personality. Plus, she's rich. She's the perfect life partner. No question, I couldn't argue with Lily, saying Vivien Moore was beautiful and rich. But saying she had a good personality, I wasn't so sure about that. Vivien Moore's goodness was reserved for me, for people she considered her own. To everyone else, she was ice cold. Well, that's just because your big brother is charming. I joked, hey, since you're here, where are Mom and Dad? I'd sent Lily back home earlier for her own safety. So she was here now. Mom and Dad must have come too. Righto, Mom and Dad. Lily chuckled. They're out in the yard right now. Bro, you know, Vivien Moore's family's yard is bigger than our entire farm back home. When Mom and Dad saw all this space, they just couldn't get over letting good land go to waste. Seriously, they think it's a shame not to be growing crops or vegetables here. I knew exactly what she meant. For wealthy people, it's about lifestyle and ambience. But for Mom and Dad coming from the countryside, it's about sustenance. In their minds, letting good earth sit idle is just disrespectful to the land. That afternoon after lunch with Lily and my parents, Vivien Moore cleared her schedule to take them shopping downtown on Rodeo Drive. Even though Lily and my parents aren't related to me by blood, Vivien Moore treated them like family. You know, love me, love my dog. She bought them piece after piece of custom Balmain clothing. And not only that, Vivien Moore usually spends money like water, without batting an eye. But she was really considerate of my parents' feelings. For instance, those Brunello Cucinelli jackets costing thousands, maybe even tens of thousands of dollars, she'd somehow passed off as discount find from TJ Maxx. I knew she did it, because she didn't want my parents to worry about the cost. They lived pretty simply. After all, the most expensive thing they owned probably didn't cost more than $300. If they knew those jackets cost thousands, their frugal natures would make them feel terrible and anxious while things were warm and happy over here. Fiona Watson was getting increasingly agitated. David, have you found any sign of Adam Clark yet? Tomorrow was her engagement party with Ryan Parker. Usually when Adam threw a fit and ran off, he'd be back within 3 days. But it had been 6 days now. It was like he'd vanished in a thin air. Not a single word. Fiona Watson had kept her cool at first, but now a sense of panic kept creeping in. It felt like she was really about to lose him. Miss Willow, I've mobilized the Blackwater reconnaissance team, Mark Wilson reported. But even with them, we haven't located Mr. Young. Miss Willow, do you think maybe he's holed up in one of those crypto mines, lying low, just to spite? You make you worry. Before Fiona Watson could respond, he quickly added, Miss Willow, maybe this isn't the time, but my palatire analysis shows his behavior patterns this time are significantly different. Usually, when Mr. Young throws a tantrum, he surfaces within 3 days. But this time, his digital footprint has completely vanished. Frankly, I wouldn't believe it was possible without NSA-level tech support. Also, your engagement party is tomorrow. If Mr. Young doesn't show up by the end of today, the predictive model's showing 87% probability he's planning some kind of legal countermove. Like what? Fiona Watson asked. Her head had been throbbing for days over Adam, and she wasn't immediately grasping David's implication. Like the FBI showing up at the engagement party tomorrow with a search warrant, or the SEC launching a surprise audit on Willow Holdings. Mark Wilson pulled up the results from the risk management model. Ruined my engagement to Ryan Parker. If he really dared, I wouldn't blame him. In the past, hearing something like that, Fiona Watson might have accused me of being unreasonable. But during the days I was gone, Fiona Watson actually started hoping I would do something like that. After all, if I actually made a move at her engagement party, it would prove I still loved her. If I didn't show up, she wouldn't necessarily feel reassured anyway. Fiona Watson's feelings right now are incredibly complicated. On one hand, she's afraid I'll take legal action. On the other, she's hoping I'll show up, Mr. Young, based on my micro-expression analysis of Fiona Watson. Her dopamine patterns indicate a deepening dependency on you. Furthermore, today, when I mentioned to Fiona Watson the possibility of Adam taking legal action regarding your engagement party tomorrow, her galvanic skin response showed a 32% increase. In anticipation, Mr. Young, I advise you to contact O. Melviny and Myers beforehand. Otherwise, if Adam shows up with a federal judge, it could get messy. That evening after work, Mark Wilson didn't return to his Upper East Side apartment. Instead, he went to an exclusive members-only club in the heart of Manhattan. Don't worry, I'm not afraid of him pursuing legal channels, Ryan Parker said, hearing David's words, his expression flickering. If he doesn't show up, my hedge fund's plan to short Young Corporation stock falls through. In the past, he always felt he had the upper hand with me. But this time, the me who used to be insecure and weak managed to turn the tables with an SEC complaint. Ryan Parker had Fiona Watson wrapped around his finger. But in the last few days, because of my disappearance, Fiona Watson's attitude towards Ryan Parker has cooled. Before, whenever Ryan Parker faked a panic attack, Fiona Watson would rush to his side, frantic with worry. However, my disappearance upset that balance. From Ryan Parker's perspective, my actions must be part of a complex business counterattack. He doesn't know that. I'm not doing this as a business tactic. I genuinely don't want Fiona Watson anymore. Furthermore, the reason Ryan Parker hopes I'll make a scene at his engagement party is precisely because he wants my overreaction to trigger restrictive clauses in the prenuptial agreement. You see, the Clark family prioritizes its business reputation above all else. This engagement party was approved by the board of directors, although they know the marriage is just for show, a capital maneuver that could be dissolved later. Even as a performance, they won't tolerate anything that could damage the stock price. If I were to take action, I might succeed, but doing so would also trigger an SEC investigation. Besides, the reason Ryan Parker is marrying Fiona Watson isn't because he genuinely loves her. It's because Fiona Watson was my ex-fiancée. Anything that was mine he had to take. Now Fiona Watson belongs to him, and she's even carrying his child. Even if I managed to win Fiona Watson back, I'd still have lost to him. Not only that, but just the other day, he sent me the genetic test report confirming Fiona Watson's pregnancy via encrypted email. Seeing the woman I once loved pregnant with another man's child, it would be one thing if it were some stranger, but it had to be Ryan Parker, the very person who ruined me with insider trading. For me, this is probably more agonizing and painful than any failed business merger. Seeing me suffer, seeing my distress, only makes Ryan Parker feel more delighted and satisfied. Darling, tomorrow we're getting married. After tomorrow, the Wall Street Journal will know who your husband is. So tonight, be a dear, show some mercy, and let me go to the study to handle the Blackstone merger. Okay. Since moving into Pineview Estates and sharing a room with Vivien Moore, she hasn't let up. She's either tempting me in law pearl silk pajamas or pouring Callan 25 down my throat. The crucial part is every time she makes demands on me. The next day, she has her private doctor give me a vitamin 4 drip. In just a few days, my body fat percentage has dropped from 12% to 8%, and I have to perform while wearing a fracture recovery brace. Who the hell can stand this? Letting you off the hook isn't out of the question. Vivien Moore blinked, her captivating blue-gray eyes swirling the Dom Perignon in her champagne glass. How about this? We reduce the number of times tonight. What about 6 positions from the Kama Sutra? Isn't 6 a bit much? How about this? What about the traditional missionary position? Just give me a break tonight. Let me look at my Bloomberg terminal. Tomorrow morning is the crucial moment for shorting Young Corporation. You wouldn't want your husband nodding off when NYSE opens, would you? Facing her Queen of Wall Street aura, I didn't dare refuse directly. I could only use capital maneuvers as a shield. It's not that I can't perform. It's just that tomorrow, I have to manage $1 billion short trade. I need to keep a clear head. and can't afford to lose composure during the CNBC live broadcast. Well then, how about 3 positions in exchange for access to 2 quarterly earnings reports? Vivien Moore traced my tie with a Chanel-polished fingernail. The next day, as the Wall Street opening bell rang, the day finally arrived for Vivien Moore and me to get married at St. Patrick's Cathedral. Of course, today was also the day Fiona Watson and Ryan Parker were getting engaged at Trump Tower, 9 o'clock in the morning. Suncrest City Summit Grand Hotel, first-floor ballroom. The hall was already buzzing with activity, packed with prominent figures from Suncrest cities. Upper crust usually. It was rare for so many of these influential people to gather in one place. But today they were all here. Thomas Parker, congratulations. Congratulations. I never expected Ryan Parker to be so capable, managing to win over Suncrest City's top socialite. Inside the hall, numerous distinguished-looking men surrounded Thomas Parker, offering their congratulations one after another. You're too kind, Mr. Chase. Children have their own paths to follow. Matters of the heart are just like that. They hit it off. And well, here we are. Thomas Parker seemed to be thoroughly enjoying the compliments, his face beaming with pleasure. Mr. Chase, I feel a bit bad saying this. Mr. Chase began, sounding slightly apologetic. After the initial pleasantries, your son's engagement to Fiona Watson is such a major event, and I really should stay until after the champagne toast, but Vivien Moore is also getting married today. So after witnessing your son's engagement, I have to head over to the Vivien family's wedding. Don't mention it, Mr. Chase. Timothy replied, though a flicker of displeasure crossed his mind. He didn't show it. Instead, curiosity took over. By the way, do you happen to know who Vivien Moore is marrying? You might laugh, Mr. Chase said, but honestly not just me, but pretty much everyone in Suncrest City's elite has no idea who Vivien Moore Sinclair's groom is. Not only that, while we all received her invitation, it only mentions her husband as Mr. Young. Beyond that, there's absolutely no other information. The atmosphere inside the hall remained lively. Outside the Summit Grand Hotel entrance, as a specific time approached, a Rolls-Royce Phantom slowly pulled up. Several women, elegantly dressed in Oscar de la Renta haute couture, stepped out. Clara, Ryan Parker's engagement party is about to start, Jennifer Wilson said worriedly as soon as she got out. It's such an important occasion. That bastard Adam Clark won't show up and cause trouble, will he? Relax. Even if Adam had 10 times the nerve, he wouldn't dare make a scene on Clark family territory, scoffed Clara Bennett, the eldest sister, dismissively. TCH. Just then, behind the luxury car they had arrived in, a Maybach Excello stopped. As the car came to a halt, a valet already waiting nearby quickly stepped forward and opened the door. As the door swung open, I stepped out dressed in a Brioni haute couture suit. Clara, look, isn't that Adam? My appearance immediately caught the attention of the 5 Clark family sisters, who had just gotten out of their car. Adam Clark, what are you doing here? Let me tell you, this is not a place you should be. Furthermore, today is Ryan Parker's engagement day. If you dare cause any trouble, I absolutely will not let you off the hook. As the 5 young sisters stared at me, my gaze swept over them briefly. Then I looked away, giving them no further attention. Our encounter here today was no accident. It was the result of my careful planning, of course. The young sisters knew nothing about this. They all assumed I had crashed the party, intending to ruin Ryan Parker's engagement celebration, especially the 5th sister, Clara Bennett. The moment she saw me, she strode furiously towards me and yelled, Clara Bennett, stop being so full of yourself. All right, don't worry. I'm not here today because of your family's stupid business. I'm here for my own wedding. I wasn't surprised by Clara's hostility, merely stating the facts calmly. You're here for your own wedding. Clara's eyes filled with scorn as she looked me up and down. Adam Clark, don't you think you're ridiculous? Do you know where you are? This is the Summit Grand Hotel. The minimum cost for a wedding here starts at $5 million. What's more, you don't even have a girlfriend, and you're saying you're getting married to Vivien Moore's Vivien. What if I told you I am marrying Vivien Moore? Vivien, although she was just mocking me, her sarcastic remark hit the nail on the head. I was indeed here to marry Vivien Moore, huh? Clara laughed mockingly. Adam Clark, take a look in the mirror, you. You're not even worthy to carry Vivien Moore's shoes. Why would she ever look at you? Her eyes glinted playfully. clearly disbelieving a word I said. Believe it or not, I don't care, I retorted, a humorless smile playing on my lips. And another thing, anyone in the world can badmouth me, slander me, but you, Clara Bennett, you don't have that right. Don't forget, 8 years ago, if it weren't for me, you'd be dead. If I had known back then how you would treat me later, I would never have risked my life to save you. After all, a venomous snake like you, repaying kindness with hatred, doesn't deserve to live. Facing her ridicule, instead of getting angry, I laughed, finally saying aloud, right in front of the other 4 sisters, the words I had held back for years before my rebirth. My words were calm, but the moment I spoke, Clara froze, a complex expression clouding her face. Others didn't know the real reason I disappeared all those years ago, but Clara knew everything. As the heir to the Clark family, my position was undeniable. After I went missing trying to save my 5th sister, Clara, she twisted the facts. Afraid the family would blame her, she told our parents I disappeared because I was being reckless. She also claimed that while she tried to save me, the current was too strong, and just as she was about to reach me, I was swept away. After hearing her account, our parents, though still somewhat resentful, weren't nearly as angry with her. Furthermore, after I returned to the family, Clara tested the waters with me. When she found out I had amnesia, she relentlessly fed me that same story, trying to brainwash me. She repeated it so often, she eventually started believing her own lies. Adam Clark, what are you implying? My words were loaded, and the other 4 sisters weren't stupid. They could clearly hear the undertone. It means exactly what you think it does. About what happened all those years ago. Clara lied to you. She claimed I fell in the river because I was fooling around. But was I really the one fooling around who fell in? And she claimed she jumped into the river to save me. This woman who can't even doggy paddle, a complete land lover, would jump into raging rapids to save someone. Do you really think that's possible? I asked, looking calmly at the other 4 sisters. Adam, stop. My words sliced through Clara's pretense like a scalpel. As the truth spilled out, some of Clara's long-buried memories started to resurface, perhaps recalling what really happened back then. She cried out, her body starting to shake uncontrollably. Although she didn't explicitly admit I was telling the truth, her reaction told the other 4 sisters everything they needed to know. Clara Bennett, mark my words, what goes around comes around. Those who do wrong will eventually face retribution. And you, I said, looking straight at her, enunciating each word, will soon face the judgment you deserve, Adam Clark. Even if everything you said is true. So what, you're still alive, aren't you? Besides, that was years ago. It's all in the past. What's the point of dredging up the past like this? Seeing me press the issue, Kate Young suddenly stepped forward and snapped at me. It's easy to talk when you're not the one who suffered, Kate Young, but don't worry. Soon enough you'll face the consequences you deserve. Just like Clara. Let's see if you can still act so tough then. I already knew the true colors of the 5 young sisters all too well. 12 years had been enough for them to completely wear away any bond of kinship we once shared. In their eyes, I was now just an insignificant nobody. Why would they care if I lived or died? Half an hour later, hotel banquet hall, 1st floor. As a string quartet began to play, Ryan Parker stood on stage, looking exceptionally handsome, in a custom Tom Ford suit. Beside him, Fiona Watson wore an Elie Saab couture gown. The two of them, a picture-perfect couple, standing beneath the crystal chandelier. They looked like screen idols from Hollywood's golden age, in stark contrast to the dazzling couple on stage. I stood back in shadows near the entrance, a cold observer to the unfolding farce. On stage, Fiona Watson maintained a polite smile, but her eyes darted restlessly. Her gaze swept across the room, as if searching for someone. Suddenly, her eyes found me near the entrance. Her pupils contracted instantly as our gazes locked. Congratulations. Happy engagement to you and Ryan Parker. Maintaining eye contact with Fiona Watson, I casually picked up a glass of Dom Perignon from a waiter's tray and raised it to her. Across the room, on stage, Fiona Watson stared back, seeing my calm, congratulatory demeanor. Her perfectly manicured nails dug sharply into her palm. Knowing me, Fiona Watson must have expected hysterics, a public meltdown. But instead of losing control, I was composed, almost elegant. My posture suggested she meant nothing to me. Like a complete stranger. This wasn't supposed to happen. This was completely off script. Fiona Watson's breathing grew ragged. Damiel. I knew you'd show up. Go on, make a scene. Attack me like the mad dog you are. Fiona Watson's distress didn't escape Ryan Parker's notice. He followed her gaze and saw me standing in the shadows. When his eyes met mine, I didn't look away, just offered a cold smile. The kind you might see on a Wall Street trader, sir. Your wedding to Miss Vivien Moore is about to begin. It's time to change and get ready. Just as Ryan Parker shot me a look of pure hatred, James Bennett entered through a side door and, in full view of everyone, bowed deeply to me. Not only that, but the Vivien family butler respectfully presented me with a pair of diamond-encrusted cufflinks. Ignoring the two piercing stares from the stage, I calmly pinned on the Van Cleef & Arpels brooch, the symbol of the groom. The word groom, etched onto its platinum base, glinted coldly under the lights. Seeing James Bennett treating me with such deference, and noticing the groom, boot and spurs pinned to my chest, a staggering reality hit Fiona Watson and Ryan Parker like a ton of bricks. I was getting married. And not just that, the bride might very well be the Vivien family heirs. Herself, Vivien Moore. Impossible. Absolutely impossible. Fiona Watson trembled, the air around her chilling. Hasn't Adam Clark always loved me? How could he possibly marry someone else? Damn it, Ryan Parker thought. Is Adam Clark really the one marrying Vivien Moore? But how no, wait. That's highly likely. Vivien Moore has always been infatuated with Adam Clark. And lately, Adam Clark has just vanished off the face of the earth. If anyone could arrange that, it would have to be Vivien Moore. Suddenly, it all clicked into place for Ryan Parker. Showtime unlike them. Seeing the horrified looks on their faces, I ignored them completely, pulled out my iPhone 15 Pro Max, and sent a message. The instant the message went through, the lights in the Summit Grand Hotel ballroom plunged into darkness. Then, an image flashed onto the large screen. Images flashed across the screen at first. They seemed innocuous. But after a few photos, the tone shifted drastically. A steamy video began to play, showing a man and woman locked in a passionate kiss. Though their bodies were pixelated, the reporters present instantly recognized the pair. Isn't that Clara Bennett and the Clark family's adopted son Ryan Parker? Aren't they legally brother and sister? Adoptive siblings involved like that. I wouldn't have believed Young Corporation could have a scandal like this if I hadn't seen it myself. Recognizing the couple, the engagement party guests began whispering, their faces filled with contempt. It's over, it's all over. The moment Clara Bennett saw the video, she froze, trembling uncontrollably. The other Clark family members looked on, their faces contorted with rage. Turn it off now. Jennifer Wilson roared, turning to see the screen, her eyes practically bulging with fury. Slap. Fiona Watson, seeing the video, slapped Ryan Parker hard across the face. So this is the real you, Ryan Parker. You make me sick. Fiona Watson realized with horror. She'd become the laughingstock of Wall Street. She knew that with this video leaked, not only would Young Corporation stock crash, but her own business reputation was finished. She glared at Ryan Parker, furious, to think she'd thrown away her chance with Adam Clark. For this to generate, the memory of Adam's cold indifference sent a sharp pang through her heart. No, I absolutely cannot lose Adam Clark. Pitching up her Valentino skirt, Fiona Watson ran after me in her Manolo Blahniks. Meanwhile, seeing my plan had succeeded, I turned and headed towards the wedding venue on the second floor. Bastard, utter bastard. Richard Clark roared in the VIP box, smashing his crystal whiskey glass. How could a Clark family raise such filth? Monica Clark immediately got on the phone with the crisis PR team. Issue a statement now. Ryan Parker is adopted. He has no blood ties to Clara Bennett. And notify NASDAQ to suspend trading on Young Corporation stock. Jennifer Wilson quickly ordered the Clark family security team to secure the area, hustling Ryan Parker and Clara into a waiting bulletproof Mercedes. Jennifer Wilson, do you think Adam Clark could be behind what happened today? Don't forget, when we ran into him at the hotel entrance, he warned Clara there would be payback. And then less than an hour later, this scandal breaks. Jennifer Wilson analyzed, her brow furrowed. Even without direct proof, Adam Clark is definitely involved somehow. Clara Bennett slumped onto the leather sofa, her face deathly pale. A wedding preparation suite on the second floor of the Summit Grand Hotel. The makeup artist was adjusting my custom Tom Ford suit. By now, Ryan Parker's scandal was trending #1 on Twitter. Related topics had blown past 200 million views. The Clark family's hastily issued statement only fueled the media firestorm. "Sir, it's time." Just as the makeup artist finished the final touches, Fiona Watson burst into the room. "Adam, this marriage to Vivien Moore. It's fake, isn't it? You're only doing this to get back at me." Fiona Watson grabbed the cuff of my Brioni suit, tears smudging her carefully applied mascara. "Fiona Watson, we're done." I coldly pulled my arm away. The Van Cleef and Arpels cufflinks glinted under the lights. "I don't believe you. You loved me for 10 years. We can start over. I'll get rid of the baby right now." She fumbled frantically in her arms bag for her phone. "Is this your love, Fiona Watson? Showing up at my wedding pregnant with my enemy's child? Is this your love? Helping Ryan Parker fake a depression diagnosis? Is this your love? Using Willow Holdings' liquid assets to cover his gambling debts?" I leaned in close to her perfectly made-up face, catching the familiar scent of her Jo Malone perfume. How could you know?" Fiona Watson stumbled backward, knocking over a bottle of La Prairie Skin Caviar Essence on a vanity from the very first time. "You got a room with him at the Hampton. The criminal investigators I hired documented everything, and just so you know, the DNA report for the child you're carrying is already on file with the SEC. Now get out of my wedding. It's the only way Willow Holdings might retain a shred of dignity." Straightening my card-eye tie, I walked towards the chapel doors. Fiona Watson's devastated screams echoing behind me as I walked down the aisle toward Vivien Moore Sinclair to the strains of the wedding march. CNBC was broadcasting live coverage of young corporations. Stock plummeting 37%. Vivien Moore, her hand adorned with a Harry Winston diamond ring, took my arm, facing the Wall Street Journal cameras. She flashed a triumphant smile. "Thank you all for witnessing the union of the Vivien and Young families," she announced. "Our first joint venture will be the acquisition of a 51 stake in Willow Holdings. Dad, Mom, it's confirmed. The man Vivien Moore married, it's Adam Clark. The Clark family. After what happened today, Ryan Parker and Clara Bennett were both grounded. Only after dealing with those two did Sarah Clark and the others find out about my marriage to Vivien Moore. What the person Vivien Moore married is Adam Clark. That little bastard. He carries the Clark family blood. How could he get married something so important without discussing it with us first?" Hearing this news, Richard Clark's head throbbed violently. It was only then that they remembered. "I was their biological son," Edward Helen Clark said. "While what Adam did was wrong, this isn't necessarily bad for the Clark family. The Vivien family's wealth and influence are far greater than Willow Holdings. If we have the singular family support, the Clark family status will definitely rise several levels." Although Helen Clark was also unhappy about it, the thought of Vivien Moore's status made her expression soften slightly. "Yes, you're right." Richard Clark nodded slightly. "All right, call Adam Clark right now. With such a huge mess happening at home, tell him to talk to Vivien Moore and ask her to help us minimize the impact of the family scandal." Helen Clark didn't hesitate. She immediately took out her phone and called me. The line rang until just before it would have gone to voicemail. Then I finally answered. "Adam Clark, I hear you married the Vivien family heiress?" Helen Clark asked. As soon as I picked up Helen Clark, who I marry. "Does it have anything to do with you?" I knew the Clark family would call, which is why I hadn't blocked their number. I didn't do this out of any lingering affection for them. I just wanted to thoroughly discuss them. Let them taste the pain I once suffered. "Adam Clark, how dare you speak to me like that? I'm your mother. What's wrong with me caring about you?" Caught off guard by my words, Helen Clark paused, clearly taken aback. "Helen Clark, are you going senile?" I retorted sarcastically. "Aren't I just your family servant? Whenever I used to call you Mom, you'd look disgusted and order me not to step out of line. Now that I'm doing as you instructed, you're unhappy. Looks like you can dish it out, but can't take it." Adam Clark, Mom's previous arrangements were indeed inappropriate, Helen Clark said, cornered by my words. She fell silent for a moment, composed herself, and then continued. "But Mom did it for your own good." "Yeah, right. Everything was for my own good. I scoffed for my own good. You slandered me. You humiliated me for my own good. Whatever Ryan Parker said was law." "Helen Clark, don't you find your whole family utterly disgusting?" When I treated you like family, you treated me like dirt. Now that I don't care about you anymore, you suddenly remember me. Huh, don't you think you're pathetic? And let me tell you something else. I will repay you for everything you've done to me over the years. Also, from the moment you started hurting me, there was nothing left between us. Instead of wasting time trying to get close to me, you should be thinking about how you're going to face the retaliation. From Willow Holdings. Knowing Fiona Watson, she absolutely will not tolerate being deceived. That's all I have to say. You're on your own. Asterisk, click asterisk. I said everything I wanted to say. Then, without waiting for Helen Clark to respond, I hung up on her. To prevent Helen Clark and the others from harassing me again, I blocked all of them immediately. Meanwhile, after hearing my words and leaving in distress, Fiona Watson first went to Suncrest General Hospital to have an abortion. After the procedure, she had someone investigate Ryan Parker. The next day, after some maneuvering, Fiona Watson quickly obtained information on Ryan Parker. Fake, it was all fake. I can't believe I was played for a fool by someone like him. After reading the file, Fiona Watson's head was spinning. To think she had hurt Adam because of a liar. Miss Willow, Mark Wilson said gently. The doctor said you just had surgery. You need to rest and shouldn't get upset. Although Mark Wilson had close ties with Ryan Parker, she hadn't expected Ryan Parker to be this kind of person. Seeing Fiona Watson's fury, she inwardly cursed, then tried to placate Fiona Watson. Mark Wilson, Fiona Watson snapped, ignoring the attempt to soothe her. Notify everyone immediately. Effective now. Cease all corporate cooperation with the Clark family. She had only one thought in her. Make Ryan Parker and the Clark family pay. Miss Willow, shouldn't we reconsider this? Mark Wilson pleaded. Ryan Parker may have deceived you, but the Clark family is innocent. Also, there's something. I'm not sure if I should say it. Mark Wilson hesitated, then spoke tentatively. Mark Wilson, if you have something to say, just say it. Fiona Watson frowned at her hesitation. Miss Willow, Mark Wilson said, bracing herself. According to what I've heard, some say that Adam Clark is the true young master of the Clark family. Who did you hear this from? Fiona Watson froze. If this news was true, then attacking the Clark family would only increase Adam's disgust for her. Miss Willow, I heard this from the Clark family's household staff. Mark Wilson explained. They just said that it seems the Clark family doesn't treat Master Adam Clark very well. Damn it. How dare the Clark family treat Adam Clark like this? Since they dared to bully Adam Clark, there's no reason for us to hold back against the Clark family. Mark Wilson, use all of Willow Holdings' resources to strike back at the Clark family with full force. It would have been one thing if she hadn't known about my connection to the Clark family, but after finding out, this knowledge didn't deter Fiona Watson from wanting revenge on the Clark family. On the contrary, from Fiona Watson's perspective, if the Clark family had revealed my identity sooner, perhaps things between us wouldn't have reached this point. Therefore, she believed it was all Ryan Parker and the Clark family's fault. As for her, she felt she was merely deceived by the Clark family and Ryan Parker. As I mentioned before, Fiona Watson is decisive and vengeful, the type to hold a grudge and exact revenge for even the smallest slight. That very day, Willow Holdings announced it was terminating its partnership with the Clark family. Upon hearing the news, Richard Clark tried calling Fiona Watson repeatedly, but none of his calls went through. At the same time, following Willow Holdings' announcement, several business partners who had only worked with the Clark family due to their affiliation with Willow Holdings also quickly pulled out, unilaterally ending their cooperation. After this series of cancellations, the Clark family's business, which had been managing to operate, faced a cash flow crisis within just a few days. Not only that, but at this critical juncture, one scandal after another involving the Clark family was exposed in the media. The exposure of these scandals, to some extent, accelerated the Clark family's downfall. In less than a month, Young Corporation was forced to declare bankruptcy due to severe internal losses. Even after selling all their properties and luxury cars, the Clark family couldn't cover the debts incurred by the corporation's losses. Without the protection of the family business, the quality of life for Sarah Clark and the others plummeted. Sarah Clark was reduced to being a mere salaried worker. Jennifer Wilson was blacklisted by powerful industry figures. after being exposed for her devil-like behavior. As for Clara Bennett, she ended up becoming an escort to make ends meet. Rumor had it that many wealthy young men and women within their social circle, whom Clara Bennett had previously bullied, specifically requested her services. Ultimately, unable to bear the humiliation, Clara Bennett took her own life. Compared to her, Richard Clark and Monica Clark didn't fare much better. One suffered a stroke that left him paralyzed and unable to care for himself, while the other couldn't handle the blow, went mad, and was sent to a psychiatric hospital. Compared to their fates, Fiona Watson's situation was somewhat better, but ever since losing me, she fell into deep regret and self-blame. I heard that Fiona Watson, consumed by longing for me, often engaged in self-harm. Seeing her state, Willow Holdings attempted compulsory treatment. However, contrary to expectations, the forced treatment didn't improve her mental state. It actually worsened. Seeing this, Willow Holdings gave up on her and supported another family member to take her place. Compared to them, ever since Vivien Moore and I got together, we became the model couple everyone envied. Usually, no matter how busy Vivien Moore was, I'd stick close to her side like a shadow. Seeing this, Vivien Moore never complained. On the contrary, she seemed to quite enjoy it. Just like that, a month and a half later, Vivien Moore found out she was pregnant with our baby. That same day, I posted about Vivien Moore Sinclair's pregnancy on my social media feed, attaching a picture of her pregnancy test results. Several months later, Vivien Moore Sinclair safely gave birth to our children. They were twins. I named our son Benjamin Young and our daughter Luna Young. During their christening ceremony, I received a call from Sarah Clark. On the call, she first congratulated me on the children, then began to repent and apologize to me. Finally, overcome with emotion, she asked if I could find time to visit Mom and Dad. I told her that affection offered too late is worthless, and that I had cut ties with them long ago. For the rest of my life, my only family would be my adoptive parents, Vivien Moore Lily Carter, and my two children.